Welcome. I'm really glad to be here with you. This is something that I get pretty excited talking about. It's so central to our business and our mission and our passion. And so, finding the words and articulating our niche it's really critical. And so I'm thrilled to be here. Again, Melissa Davis. I'm an entrepreneurial clarity coach. I have been working with startups and entrepreneurs for the past almost 9 years. And I just absolutely love helping entrepreneurs get clarity, to get really clear on who they are and what they stand for so they can start talking about it and they can start doing it, because you can't do it until you can talk about it. You can't talk about it until you get that really early clarity. So this is a passion space for me, and I'm really excited to dig in with you and help you get clear on your niche. Today we're going to spend, here, let me share my screen first. Sorry about this, folks. Hold on. All right, is everybody seeing that first slide? Fantastic. So today we're really going to focus on why niche clarity is so important. I know I touched a little bit on that as we were doing introductions, but that clarity is paramount to talking about it and to really being able to take action. We're going to talk about the top 3 reasons that we're often not clear yet. I'm going to go through the niche formula and then what that clarity process actually looks like. So we all want to create businesses that make a difference. That's why you're here. That's why you're attracted to ShiftCo. We want to make an impact. We also want and need to design a business that makes us happy and fulfilled. And we want to grow a business that generates the revenue that supports our life and allows us to make even more impact. It's this regenerative thing. We all know it takes resources to be able to keep doing the work we want to do, right? And to build and scale and make even bigger of an impact. But the problem is, to do that, you need to finally nail down your niche and get clarity on exactly how you serve them. And that can feel overwhelming, chasing every opportunity that comes your way. It can be frustrating that you're not getting the traction that you thought you would right off the bat. And it can even be embarrassing when you flip-flop or just flop on your message. And we've all been there. And even worse, it can make you feel like maybe you're not cut out for this. And I can tell you right now, that's just not true. But there's good news. Clarity is a process, not a gift. If you don't have clarity right now, it has nothing to do with your potential as a change maker, with your potential as an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean anything about you, because clarity is a process, not a gift. I love this example, this analogy of what clarity does for you and how it focuses your resources. So think of a garden hose and how it sprays out water, and it's got this flow of resources through it, this water, right? A certain volume of water can flow through a garden hose, right? Our resources are our time, our money, and our energy. And when we have a wider nozzle, that water, it squirts out and it flows, but it's not going to do that much, right? It's not going to blow over a garbage can per se, right? Just loose. We're playing with the garden hose in the yard. So without clarity, we can have a limited amount of impact. The force of that spray out of the wide open hose, it's pretty weak, right? But clarity allows us to focus our resources. What you're looking at here is a water jet metal cutter. When we can focus our resources, when we can focus and get clarity, we can have a massive impact. We can cut through metal. It's the same volume of water, the same amount of resources, our time, our money, our energy, with focus added to narrow that nozzle. We can cut through metal. So what are you capable of when you can focus your resources? That clarity allows us to take focused action and move forward much faster. But here's another problem. We think the process of clarity should look something like this. Early on in our business, we have these points of clarity. We realize something, right? We realize a problem. I need clarity at this point, or I realize these, something early on. And then, I get more and more and more clear and faster as I build my business and I get this great traction. But the reality is it actually looks something like this. And I call this the clarity chaos continuum. And it's really a learning process and it's actually required. But what happens is, we have this kind of key learning, the stuff we have to go through, and it leads us to this point of clarity. That's the light bulb at the top, right? And we make progress in our business. We get clear on maybe what our niche is, right? Or we get clear on some point in our business that actually allows us to move forward. And what happens is we hit this point of clarity, but then we dip back down into chaos. And it's there that, things just feel really uncertain. We doubt ourselves. We start taking other opportunities that may come up. We lose focus. But what happens at the bottom here is that we hit these key points of learning as we dip down into chaos. As we're coming up from chaos, we take on a really important piece of knowledge or learning that leads us then again to another point of clarity. And this happens repeatedly throughout our entrepreneurial life. And it helps us to reach, to get and reach bigger peaks of progress. But here's also what happens to entrepreneurs. They reach these bottom peaks into chaos and they think they're not cut out for it, right? They think, I don't know how to do this. I don't think that, I really have the skills and ability or nature to do this. They doubt themselves. And maybe it's one dip into chaos. Maybe it's the second big dip into chaos or the third, but they give up because they don't understand that this is a process. They don't understand that you're going to always experience points of clarity and dips into chaos. And if we can get clear and understand that clarity is not a gift, it's a process, and that these dips are part of it, we can move forward with the understanding that we are cut out for this and that there's big learning that comes from those dips into chaos. Now, the other good news is that by understanding the process of clarity, we can ensure that those dips aren't quite as deep and that they don't knock us off as much as they have been. So what is a niche? A niche is a formula, essentially. It's who you serve plus the problem you solve for them and how you solve it. Just an example, this is a client of mine. So who you serve, single parents in Rochester, New York. The problem that they solve, they have trouble finding childcare support when they really need it, like nights, weekends, for short times, mental health breaks. And they solve it by providing a fun, safe, and flexible childcare solution. Drop in when you need it, evenings, weekends, anytime. It takes a village. So this is a good highlight of what a niche is. So why is it important that we understand and can clearly articulate our niche? It's the problem you solve that ultimately makes a difference in the world, either directly or indirectly. And serving the right niche ensures that we can make an impact while also supporting ourselves and staying fulfilled long term. It gives us that focus. And finally, when we're clear, we can connect with our niche. We can articulate what we do and who we do it for. So what are the top 3 reasons that we aren't clear on our niche? One is what I call an ego versus an aligned pathway. It's not quite as bad as it sounds, so hold on. Unclear personal values are the second one, and then undefined personal mission and role. So let's dig into those. An aligned niche is nested in the broader clarity of our values, beliefs, and personal mission. And I like taking a look at this visually because it gives me a sense of understanding the process right from the very beginning. And we're going to dig into this a little bit later, but our values help us really hone in on what those beliefs are within the values that are most important to us. And then we can dig into from there our mission, and then nested in within mission is our niche. But an ego pathway happens when outside influences sway our niche decision. And when we're on an ego pathway, we often go after a niche problem or industry because we think it's the only way to make money. So if you're feeling like I've got to do this because it's really how I'm going to make money, I can't make money the other way. Or we go after a niche problem or industry because it simply sounds like the respectable thing to do. You know, this often comes from, you know, you're branching off from an industry and you feel like you won't be respected if you go in the direction that you feel aligned to or you really want to go into. And that connects to, we worry about what our friends, family, or network will think of us if we create something that doesn't match their expectations. So you're on an ego pathway if any of these really resonate with you on a niche that you've already decided to go after. When we think about values, values are how we show up to the world. They create the lens we use to make decisions, form and navigate relationships, and tell us who to like, trust, and respect. And when our values, our personal values, are unclear, we struggle to understand what our niche wants and value. And we struggle to do this for ourselves. And the reason I say this is because our ideal aligned niche shares our top values. They value what we value. Now, what we won't have time to kind of dig into here, but we have what are called two-way value streets, in that our niche values are two-way value streets. And our two-way value streets are those values that we hold other people accountable to as much as we hold ourselves to. So the next thing on the list, though, is we struggle to define how we solve a problem in a unique and aligned way. This is often called differentiation. So our values define how we serve our niche, how we define the problem, or I'm sorry, how we solve a problem in a unique way. They're really instrumental in helping us understand how we do that. Or we struggle to design a business around our most authentic selves. You know, that ultimately, for us to feel happy and fulfilled, we need to design a business around our values. And third is personal mission. Personal mission is how we decide to personally make an impact in the world. And it helps us to define who we want to help and why. So when our personal mission is unclear, we struggle to understand our broader purpose and impact. We struggle to narrow down who we want to help, and we struggle to articulate why we want to serve a niche. And roles help us understand our part in our personal mission. It becomes central to how we solve our niche's problem. For example, visionary, coach, connector, innovator. So when we are unclear about what our role is, it makes it challenging to understand how we show up and serve our niche. And when our role is unclear, we struggle to identify what we do. We struggle to be clear on identifiable services. We struggle to identify what we need to do personally and where we can bring in others to help. Okay, so how do we get clearer? We want to start with how, not why. You might ask, but why not start with why? That's, you know, and I don't you know, I love Start With Why. I love Simon Sinek. I think it's absolutely brilliant. The problem is that purpose is hard for us to articulate. It's really hard to put into words. Starting with how, our values, allows us to start with tangible evidence in our lives to narrow in on the beliefs that guide our mission and niche. And beliefs and mission are why we do what we do, at least in our business. But those, when we start with how, we have a pathway to getting to why that's much easier than simply starting with why and attempting to articulate that. So let's take a look at the process of niche clarity. Remember, it's a process, not a gift. So our values are what's most important to us and our niche, and it drives how we show up to serve them. And our beliefs are what we believe about the world that drives us to make a change. It's why we do what we do. Our mission is our individual role in driving the change we want to see. And then our niche is the problem we solve that helps complete our mission. This is the pathway, the process to niche clarity that I use with my clients to help them understand what and who they serve so that they can start talking about it. So here's an example tied to the niche that I shared with you at the beginning. So if we take a look at the values that they've selected: community, fun, and accountability. Now we're going to go through this process, but I just want to kind of lay out for you what this ends up looking like. And the belief that they centered their mission on is, I believe it takes a village to raise a child and allow a parent to be a good parent. It takes a village. And the mission, really simple: to be the village that's missing for those parents. And their niche are single parents who struggle to find flexible childcare and want to both give their children a fun, safe experience and also thrive as parents. So if we look at the clarity process exercise, just to recap, values guide how we show up and expect others to as well. When we're aligned to our top values, we feel passionate, fulfilled, authentic, and alive. And we want clarity on them so we can consciously align to them instead of relying on chance or feeling. A lot of times we rely on feeling to tell us when we're aligned to our values and when we're not. And when we can identify them, we can actively go after things that align to our values. And we can do the same thing with our business. So you've likely already done values work. If you've gotten to this point, you've very likely already done some work around values. And so what we're going to do for the purposes of this exercise, because we want to move through this quickly. And part of moving through this quickly is that you're coming up with a fast answer that's right there at the tip, right there at the forefront, and it's probably the right answer. So in the next slide, I have a list of values. I want you to select 3. And I know that this is going to be challenging because there's a list right in front of you. But again, you've probably already done some values work before, but I want you to consider these things as you look at these words. What values resonate with you the most? How do they show up in the people that you respect, in other people? I want you to think about who you like, trust, and respect, and what values you see showing up in them. How do you see them missing in people you disrespect, dislike, and distrust? Those are often the biggest triggers for us in understanding our top two-way street values. When we look at other people, remember, we hold other people accountable to our top two-way street values, sometimes even more than we hold ourselves accountable to them. So these are really great places to look when we look at those values. Then think about your relationships, your job or your career, your hobbies and your passions and your life choices. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I want you to use your instinct and come up with, write down 3 of these top values, and I'll give you, let's say, 2 minutes. I know that's not a long time, but it should be enough to pull out the top 3 that resonate the most with you. Okay. So the next piece here is with those 3 values in mind. I want you to work through these prompts one at a time. I want to ask, when I think about what's happening in the world right now, what gives me the most hope? Looking at those top values and keeping the context of those in mind. Answer these prompts. And again, I know we're going to be working through these pretty quickly, but that first answer is almost always the one that is more deeply connected for you. And then I want you to ask yourself, what value of mine does this reflect or promote the most when you look at those 3 values in front of you? Okay. And the next prompt is, when I think about the world around me, my community, or simply how things work, what really makes me upset? And then again, we want to see what value is really triggered here. What value of yours does this step on the most? Usually when we get angry or deeply frustrated with something that's happening around us or in the world, it's because it's stepping on a strong value for us. Okay, so quickly moving down the process from values, which are how, looking at that tangible evidence in the world, what makes me upset? What are the What are the things that give me hope? When I look around to the people and things in my life, and I can pull apart my feelings to reveal those values. We're going to narrow in on those and take a look at beliefs now. So beliefs tied to our top values show why we're driven to show up and make a difference. They become the driving force behind why we do what we do. And they're the most powerful message we have that explains why we're on a mission, why we serve the niche we choose to. So the ultimate goal here is to create a single unifying belief that explains why we're on a mission. Now, this isn't something that I expect that you'll be able to do after an hour together, right? But what the objective here is to start collecting a list of beliefs that you have that you'll be able to take a look at and ultimately create a single unifying belief that explains why you do what you do in your business. It's the most powerful language you can have as an entrepreneur, is that unifying belief that explains why you do what you do. So our strongest positive beliefs help us understand what we stand for. They give us a way to start talking about our impact and inspiring others. And they give us a big window into our mission. So our ideal customers believe what we believe, just like they value what we value, they believe what we believe. Our beliefs are the most powerful way to talk to our niche. And we trust brands and businesses that connect on our shared values and beliefs much more than we trust brands that don't talk about that at all. And we become loyal to brands who stand behind their beliefs and align to their values. So let's take a look at a few belief prompts to help get you from values to beliefs. We're going to take your top values and list the strongest beliefs you have that connect to those values. So I'm going to give you a few minutes on each of these slides just to kind of fill in the blank. Now, you don't have to complete these exactly the way they are by any stretch, and you don't have to do all of them. So if you read through one, and you say, that doesn't make any sense to me, skip it and focus on another one. They're really just to get you started in structuring a belief connected to the values that you've identified. So I have several slides, 2 slides, and we'll just do, let's say, 2 minutes on each one. Okay. So these questions are more geared towards, whereas the first slide was geared towards you personally, now we're taking a look outside into the world when we think about these values. Again, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to look through these. And if one doesn't resonate with you, skip it. And don't feel like you have to stick to this formula. They're just there to prompt you. Okay, so this next prompt, I love. Oops. I call it the pet peeve prompt. I want you to think about your biggest pet peeve and start with the phrase, I get so upset when blank, and that's not okay because. This is a little bit more encompassing, whereas the other belief prompts got you to little pieces of this bigger belief that you'll ultimately form, right? It gives you a window into those values and how they show up in the world and how they influence your beliefs about yourself, others, and how things work in the world. This one gets us to a little bit more of a whole belief that may be instrumental in the business that you run, right? So it's seeing something active in the world, right, that you believe needs to be changed. And that's the root of this. What's the thing out there that needs changing, that you're capable of impacting? And so this, I call it pet peeve. You know, I mean, there are little things that get at us, but the bigger you can think here, the more direct you can be with that last piece of it. And that's not okay because, and that's really where that big belief comes in or can come in. So again, I'll give you a couple of minutes just to work through this. And my suggestion is start small and just write it down and then work up to something a little bit bigger in the world that you see as a problem that really bothers you. All right, we'll give that another 2 minutes. Okay, we ready? So we're going to want to select and edit your strongest belief statement or some combination of the belief statements that you've written down. Now, I don't want you to worry if you don't yet feel like you have a really cohesive single belief statement that informs everything that you do from here on out. Again, this is iterative and it's going to take some working through to come up with that belief statement. And it may take you, quite a period of time to really refine that. But what we want to get at is, what's the strongest belief in front of you right now? What's the strongest one? What's the one that elicits the most feeling from you? It elicits the most passion from you. And if by chance none of them do, then, we really want to take a look at, okay, so what are the prompts that will get you towards the passion that you're feeling? And it may be that the values that you're selecting aren't informing your beliefs in this case. And so, that's something that, we can work through together, with one-on-one questions. But my guess is that in front of you, there's at least one of these beliefs that you've written down that really elicits a strong and passionate feeling for you. So I want you to just take 1 minute and pull out that strongest belief in front of you, or a combination, of a few of those beliefs, and kind of pull them together and do a very quick little edit on it, just so that you have it in front of you, so that we have something to move forward with in this exercise. It does not need to be perfect. It's always helpful to start with, I believe. Seems obvious, but it helps. So a few examples as you're working through that. I believe every parent can be a great parent if they have the accountability and support of their community. Another example would be, I believe when kids have a safe and fun place to go, both they and their parents can thrive. And I believe every parent deserves a village to help them raise their child. So these are three of the defining beliefs behind the business is called Marvelous Mind Academy here in Rochester, New York. And these are three of those core beliefs that drive everything that they do. Okay, we're very quickly going to take a look at role. Our role, or our roles, is like our job in living out our mission. We usually have one primary role and often a few supporting roles. I want you to select up to 3 roles for this exercise, and I'm not going to give you very much time to look at this list. I want you to use your instinct and write down between 1 and 3 of those roles that you feel really embody who you are in showing up to your work as an entrepreneur and to your mission. Now, obviously, this is not a comprehensive list of roles, but it's just to get you kind of started in how you embody the work that you do. Okay, I know that was fast. Okay, so let's talk mission. Mission, now we're getting more and more narrow, starting from values, which are these broad, the broad lens that we use to decide how we move forward in our lives, how we make decisions, right? Who we like, trust, and respect, and what we start to get passionate about. Then we take a look at the beliefs, and that's starting to articulate what is important to us. It articulates what we're driven to take action on. And mission now is identifying that personal action that we take to achieve what we want to see changed in the world. And it's often a really big goal. And it explains our niche and why we serve them. So a simple mission formula. Now, we're not going to spend time in this exercise working through the mission formula. After this session, or with this session, you will have a handout that we'll send to you that embodies this formula so that you have it in front of you. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to work through this, and you're going to see the example of how this plays out. But this is something that will take a little bit more time for you to kind of piece together. But a simple mission formula can look like this, and there are a number of them. But my mission is to overcome a barrier to our belief about the world. So there's something that gets in the way about a belief that we have about what the world could be like, right? And then we utilize our role. So my mission is to overcome that barrier by the role I select and for the people who are impacted by that. So that, and then we add what our ideal vision of the world can look like. Now, here's an example of that same company. So my mission is to provide the village parents need by providing safe, fun, and flexible spaces to care for their children so that they can do what they need to do to thrive in the world. So this is a really simple formula to look at in kind of pulling apart what your role in making the world a better place looks like. So now getting to niche though. So just a reminder for the niche formula. The niche is who we serve, the problem we solve for them, and how we solve it. So who you serve, who can you help that is impacted by your strongest belief? Where is that gap? Where do you see, when you take a look at those beliefs about the world and your pet peeve belief, where is the gap that you see and who is impacted by that? Who is not getting what they need? When we think about the problem that you are going to solve for them, what is the barrier for them to getting what they want? How do they view the problem? This is really important because we often know what we think they need, and it can be very different from how your niche views the problem that they have. So it's important to think about the distinction between what they want and what they need. So how do they view the problem? And is it different from what they need? And then how do you solve it? I want you to look at your top role first. And what are your passions and skills solving this, around solving that problem for them? And then look at your top values. They inform how you show up and how you serve your clients. This is often called differentiation. And if you have gone, if you've talked to Terry or you're a member of ShiftCo, you understand how critical differentiation is to serving and talking about your niche and the problem that you solve for them. So differentiation is how you uniquely solve a problem, what separates or differentiates you in the marketplace from other people. And how you solve a problem is the biggest way that we differentiate ourselves from other people who may be solving the same problem. So an example of this, a great example of this is business coaching, right? as business coaches, we know that there are many, many ways to show up and coach in that space. It's not one niche. One niche, in business coaching, assumes that everybody has the same problem, and the way that we solve it is acceptable and desired by everybody. And that's simply not true. Some people want a business coach who is there holding their hand and can show them that they've gotten results for other people and they can get it for you too. And other people want business coaching that's geared towards simply teaching them tasks. They really value a process laid out for them that they can take step by step, and may not really want to connect with a community or other people at all, right? So if we take a look at how values show up here, your niche values what you value. So if you value accountability, if one of your top values is valuing accountability, your niche values accountability as well. And understanding what that means and how you show up to that is really critical to differentiating yourself from others who may solve the same problem. So that might look like creating systems and creating a process that demonstrate to your niche that, one, that you're there for them, right? And that you're showing them that they're going to get a return on their investment, and you're there holding their hands, right? So by defining the behaviors of accountability, you can create differentiation around how you solve that problem for them. And then again, taking a look at that role is one of the biggest clues on how you solve it for somebody. It's that role. It's the definition of, what am I doing for this client who, versus, so a coach versus a consultant, right? The very big difference between how you may solve a problem one way versus solving it another. So let's take a look at niche and action. So at the beginning, I kind of walked you through what we want and the problem that gets in our way and how we're going to solve it here with this presentation. So just kind of summarizing that, who in this presentation, us here together, are new and aspiring entrepreneurs. And it may be that we're pivoting in understanding our niche as well, but that who are new and aspiring entrepreneurs. And we want to get traction in our business and make an impact. The problem is we're stuck nailing down our niche. And here I'm inserting a belief. Believe that every change maker has the potential to bring their impact to the world with the right support. And then bringing in that solution of offering entrepreneurial clarity coaching. And so this is just bringing it, tying it all together of who we serve, what they want, how they're experiencing the problem, that big belief that supports why we do what we do, and how we're going to solve the problem. I'd love to open it up to questions here. Before we do that, I want to highlight a few of the upcoming events that ShiftCo is going to have. On August 2nd, there's going to be a really fantastic course on telling your story your way, which of course we all know is incredibly important. And on Wednesday, the 31st, August 31st, 7 deadly public speaking mistakes. It seems like a really nice progression in skills. And ShiftCo is amazing. I know Terry touched a little bit on that. I don't know if you want to add more to ShiftCo here, Terry, before I pop over to questions.
No, I'd love to use the rest of the time for questions. And if anybody has any questions about ShiftCo, you can just email us.
Okay. So yeah, I'd love to open it up to questions. I know we moved through that process of getting niche clarity pretty quickly. there's, you know, a lot of nuanced processing that happens between values and beliefs and personal mission and getting to niche. And so, you know, I'd encourage you to reach out, um, and also just to ask any clarifying questions here before we move on. Again, I'll send a follow-up worksheet that has these examples and this process, so that you can have it in front of you as well.
And we'll send it out with a recording of this too, so people have the recording as they're going back through the process.
So I have a quick question. This is Lisa.